Amin Elhassan, ESPN NBA front office insider. We'll ask him, as this season is winding down, the Sixers on a 13-game skid. The last time they won, they beat Brooklyn. That was February the 6th. They'll play them again tonight. You can hear the game here on 97.3 ESPN. But that's really one of the questions I want to ask you, Amin, as the Sixers' awful season. We know, third year of all of this. But as this season is wrapping down, do you and people in the NBA finally sense that the light is at the end of the tunnel for the fans through this misery?
Well, no, because they'll probably be bad next year as well. But the idea is that they're going to be better than what they did in the last 3 years. But you're still dealing with you just said it actually before I came on. They got to draft the right guys. It's nice to say we've got all these great picks, but you got to pick the right guys, and then you got to develop them, and you got to hope they don't get hurt. And there's so many pitfalls. You know, having the draft, holding even the number one overall pick is not in and of itself a guarantee that the light at the end of the tunnel is here. There's a whole host of things that have to happen after that. And some of them you do control, like proper scouting as far as talent evaluation, as far as background checks and things like that. And some of them you don't control. Like, will a guy be healthy? Or will a guy adjust to the NBA game as we expect him to? And so, is next year going to be better than this year? I would imagine so. But you're still not out of the woods yet.
Well, you just said they got to draft right. Let me ask you, Amin, over the 3 years, have they drafted right? I mean, I think that's a lot of the debate is, well, they didn't get the right guy. Did Sam Hinkie take the right guy in the spots that he was?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you're looking. So, for instance, last year, Jahlil Okafor, I wasn't a big Jahlil Okafor fan. As far as his adaptation to the NBA game, I recognize he's a great offensive player, but when you talk about defense, bigs that are not good defenders, that's a really hard thing to build around in the NBA. And so I know it's early in his career, but whenever people say that, I always say, well, you name me the last big who got better at defense and rebounding after he got to the NBA. It usually doesn't happen. If he's not a good defensive rebounder, he's not a good defensive rebounder for life. If he's not a good defender, he's usually not a good defender for life. And so, if you're talking about that Okafor pick, that one's questionable. Embiid, I was one of the few people who liked the pick, but obviously I didn't understand the full the case of his injuries. And then as far as Nerlens Noel and Dario Saric, the jury's out on kind of those guys. So it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, but at the end of the day, like I said, that there are all sorts of issues that come up and pop up that you can't anticipate, and you have to kind of respect that randomness and that chaos.
I mean, so many times in the NBA, we always hear, well, you got to hit rock bottom, you got to tear it down. So did the Sixers do the right thing? I mean, was this the right way to go about it? Was it too extreme? Or, I mean, are you okay if you're in a front office and you're saying, you know what, I wish I could do what they're doing, but my owner won't let me?
No, absolutely. What they've had was great ownership support. And without that, you can't do this, because without that, your owner says, oh, we're losing all these games. You obviously must not be good at your job. You're fired. Right? That's why teams don't go full tank the way that the Sixers have. And when I say full tank, I mean 3-4 years in. Usually what we see is more of teams that will do it for a year. So the Warriors, most famously, they promised their fans they were going to go to the playoffs, and then everybody got hurt. And so they basically tanked the season because the pick that they owed was a top 7 protected pick. And so they had to tank to make sure they keep it, and that guy turned into Harrison Barnes. That's usually what we see, because most ownership groups don't have the stomach to live through multiple years of being a laughingstock. Now, I will say this, no matter how much of a rope that, the Sixers front office has had, every billionaire has its limits. And no billionaire likes to be associated with losing all the time. And I think that's a big reason why we saw Jerry Colangelo incorporated into the Sixers front office.
I was going to follow up with that. Amin Elhassan's with us. Colangelo's here. It's been about 3 months. Was this The Sixers reaching out to Colangelo or the NBA saying the Sixers are beating us at our flawed system. We must put someone in there to validate this.
What are they beating? How are they beating the system?
It's a horrible system. The NBA is a horrible system.
How are they beating the system? Like, congratulations, you're one of the worst teams. Congratulations, you still haven't gotten the number one pick. And congratulations, the guys that you're drafting are okay at best. So how are they beating the system?
Well,
Everyone says the NBA tried to stop it. Okay, why would the NBA worry about this? Now you can make a different argument.
Yeah.
It's not about beating the system. It's about having one of the major market teams that should be participating in revenue sharing, because that's how we do it in the league. The bigger market teams share their revenue with the smaller market teams. So if you're a small market team and you say they've got a great, base and great history and all that, and they're basically throwing it all away so they don't have to revenue share with the rest of us because they don't make as much, that's a bigger issue. But the fact that, whether they're getting the number 2 or the number 3 overall pick, that's no one's bothered by that, I don't think.
Well, I mean, in the end, okay, they're 5-8 and 55, whatever. It's been a horrible run, but in the end, will this work out? Will we be saying 2-3 years down the road, you know what a story this thing has become, or do you think this will end up being a failure?
If Mr. Colangelo is involved, I've never known him to be involved with failure. Right? Everything he touches, it doesn't turn to gold immediately, but it turns to gold eventually. And so if he's involved and he's still around, then I think that the Sixers will have a happy ending eventually. But again, you're no closer. Sam Hinkie had this analogy where he talked about, flying to the moon and standing on a ladder doesn't make you any closer to the moon or something like that. But at the same time, digging a hole in the ground doesn't get you any closer to the moon either. And right now, the Sixers are in a hole in the ground.
Last one for you. In the end, if this works out, who gets more credit, Colangelo or Hinkie?
In the end, I don't think Hinkie's going to be around.
Well, if Colangelo gets the credit for the draft picks, but Hinkie acquired the draft picks, who gets the credit in that situation?
I think the guy who's in charge at the time always gets the credit. And that's why coaches, when we hear about coaches don't want to play young players, don't want to develop young players, because coaches are judged by their records. And what they'll say is, okay, I'll develop him and he'll be a great player for somebody else. You think people are crediting PJ Carlesimo for Kevin Durant right now? Nah, they don't.
Amin Elhassan at Amin ESPN as the Sixers tonight right here on 97.3. Thanks, Amin.
Thanks.